this video, we expose what happens when pets turn on their owners, when familiarity replaces fear. From a man who raised a deadly apex predator as if it were a harmless house cat, to a breeder fatally crushed by one of the longest snakes on record, these cases reveal just how quickly control becomes an illusion. The man who raised a lion like a house cat. It was June 12, 2014, when Marcus Engel, a 42-year-old diamond trader, entered the enclosure of a lion he had raised from a cub on his private Northern Cape property. Marcus had built his life around control. After retiring early, he invested in exotic animals, zebras, antelope, and his centerpiece, a male lion named Apollo. He bottle-fed him, handled him daily, and regularly entered the enclosure without barriers. Friends and local wildlife handlers warned him repeatedly that lions do not lose predatory instinct through familiarity. Marcus believed his bond was different. On the day of the incident, Apollo was already displaying agitation, pacing, tail flicking, and heightened focus. These are documented stress indicators in large felids, particularly during feeding cycles or after minor injury. Adult male lions can exceed 500 pounds and deliver bite forces over 650 psi. Their attack sequence is rapid and targeted, closing distance in seconds and aiming for the neck to collapse the airway or sever major vessels. Marcus entered with food. Apollo lunged without hesitation. The impact knocked him to the ground before a single bite to the neck ended the sequence. The compression of the trachea and vascular damage caused rapid loss of consciousness within minutes. Authorities later confirmed inadequate permits and enclosure violations. Apollo was euthanized. Marcus believed control came from familiarity. For Lily Howard, the danger came from something even closer to human. The woman who raised a chimp like a child. It was September 8, 2015, when Lily Howard introduced a visitor to the animal she trusted most, a 7-year-old chimpanzee named Coco. Lily, a 31-year-old veterinary technician in Florida, had raised Coco from infancy. He lived inside her home, slept in her bed, and was treated as family. But as Coco reached adolescence, his behavior began to change. Experts had warned her this would happen. Male chimpanzees undergo significant hormonal shifts that increase aggression, territorial behavior, and dominance displays. Despite sharing over 98% of human DNA, their physical strength far exceeds ours, with muscle density capable of generating force several times greater than a human of similar size. Lily dismissed the warnings. On the afternoon of the incident, Coco fixated immediately on the unfamiliar guest. His posture stiffened. His facial expression changed, subtle but critical indicators of agitation. Then he moved. Chimpanzee attacks are not random. They are targeted. Hands, face, airway. Within seconds, Coco overpowered Lily, delivering severe trauma that compromised her ability to defend herself or breathe. Emergency responders were delayed entry due to the animal's presence. By the time Coco was secured, Lily had already gone into cardiac arrest. Coco was later euthanized. What made the case predictable was not the violence, it was the pattern. For Daniel Ortiz, the trigger wasn't behavior, it was blood. The breeder who ignored a single drop of blood. It was March 4, 2016, when Daniel Ortiz made a routine decision inside the enclosure of one of the most dangerous reptiles on Earth. Daniel, a 38-year-old reptile breeder in Arizona, had spent years building his reputation working with exotic species. Among them was Titan, a Komodo dragon he had raised and handled regularly. Over time, routine replaced caution. On that afternoon, Daniel entered the enclosure alone to clean. During the process, he cut his hand on a metal edge. The injury was minor, but it produced blood. Komodo dragons are highly sensitive to scent and capable of detecting blood almost immediately. Their bite combines mechanical damage with venom that prevents clotting and accelerates shock. Their serrated teeth are designed to tear tissue while maintaining grip. Titan responded instantly. The distance closed in seconds. Daniel attempted to retreat, but the attack had already begun. The bite to his forearm caused severe vascular damage, compromising multiple arteries. Even after escaping the enclosure, the effects continued. Blood loss combined with anticoagulant venom made stabilization extremely difficult. Daniel managed to call for help. He did not survive. Authorities later seized the animal and reinforced regulatory scrutiny around high-risk reptile ownership. Daniel didn't ignore danger, he normalized it. For Terry Garner, the threat didn't come from a predator most people fear. It came from animals he had worked with for decades. The farmer eaten by his own hogs. It started as a routine feed. On the morning of September 3, 2012, 70-year-old hog farmer Terry Garner stepped into his enclosure just outside Riverton, Oregon. He was carrying a bucket of feed. He never walked back out. Hours later, when he didn't return, his family began searching. What they found wasn't a body, it was fragments. His dentures were recovered first, then his glasses. What remained of his body had already been largely consumed by the pigs. According to the Coos County Medical Examiner, the cause of death could not be definitively established. There were no clear signs indicating whether Garner was knocked down and killed first, or whether he suffered a medical episode, such as a heart attack. And the pigs began feeding while he was still alive, or immediately after collapse. What makes this case disturbing is the biology of domestic hogs. Studies published through the Journal of Animal Science show pigs are omnivorous opportunists with bite forces exceeding 700 psi, capable of crushing bone. Under feeding conditions, they enter rapid competitive consumption behavior, meaning hesitation disappears within seconds. Investigators noted scattered remains across multiple meters, indicating group feeding frenzy dynamics, not a single attack. There were no distress calls, no witnesses, no timeline. The pet hippo that killed its rescuer. For 7 years, Marius Els believed he had done the impossible. After rescuing a baby hippo during a flood in 2004, he raised Humphrey on his private farm. He fed him by hand, swam beside him. In interviews, Els said clearly, "Humphrey is like a son to me. He's just like a human." But biology never agreed. On November 12, 2011, Els entered the water near the Limpopo River, a routine interaction he had performed dozens of times. This time there was no warning. His body was later recovered with severe crushing injuries. Humphrey was found nearby. According to data compiled by the African Wildlife Foundation, hippos are responsible for approximately 500 human deaths annually, making them the deadliest large land animal in Africa. Their jaws open to nearly 180 degrees, delivering bite forces exceeding 1,800 psi, capable of snapping a canoe in half. More critically, behavioral research published in behavioral ecology journals confirms that hippos do not form human-like attachment bonds. What appears as trust is often tolerance within territory boundaries, and that tolerance can switch instantly to aggression. There was no illness, no provocation, no escalation phase, just a threshold crossed. The tiger that killed the same man twice. The first attack should have ended it. In 2004, Norman Buwalda was mauled by a 650-pound Siberian tiger named Boris on his rural Ontario property. The injuries were severe enough to require hospitalization. Authorities raised concerns. Neighbors filed complaints. But Buwalda came back and made a decision that would define the outcome. He publicly stated the attack was his fault. He continued keeping the same tiger, continued entering the enclosure, continued treating proximity as proof of control. 6 years later, on January 7, 2010, Boris attacked again. This time, there was no recovery. Investigators found Buwalda's body inside the enclosure. The tiger was euthanized shortly after. According to research from the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute, large predators like Siberian tigers retain fixed predatory response patterns, meaning once an attack sequence has occurred, the neural pathway is reinforced, not erased. A tiger's strike can reach speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour in short bursts, delivering a killing bite to the neck designed to sever the spinal cord. There is no concept of second chances in that system. Buwalda survived the first attack and interpreted survival as safety. Statistically, that was the most dangerous conclusion he could have drawn. The bear her children watched kill her. The permit made it legal. It did not make it survivable. Kellyanne Waltz kept a 350-pound American black bear in a backyard enclosure under a then-valid Pennsylvania exotic animal permit loophole. The animal had been raised in captivity, fed daily, familiar with her presence. On the afternoon of August 18, 2009, Waltz entered the enclosure alone to clean it. Within seconds, the bear attacked. Outside the fence, her 3 children, ages 10, 12, and 15, watched as the animal mauled their mother. According to state police reports, the attack lasted several minutes. They had no way to intervene. A neighbor eventually arrived and shot the bear through the enclosure to stop it. Waltz was pronounced dead at the scene. From a biological standpoint, black bears, Ursus americanus, possess forelimb strength capable of generating over 500 kilograms of force and bite forces exceeding 800 psi. Research from the Journal of Wildlife Management shows that captive bears do not lose predatory or dominance behaviors, especially in confined environments where stress increases unpredictability. There was no reported provocation, no feeding trigger, no warning behavior identified by investigators, just proximity and a closed space. The camel that turned a petting zoo into a fatal enclosure. A roadside petting zoo in Obion County, Tennessee, marketed as safe, interactive, and family-friendly. The camel had been there for years, handled daily, fed by staff, seen as manageable. On March 10, 2022, 2 experienced workers, Tommy Hayes and Andrew Mollett, entered the enclosure. They never came out alive. According to the Obion County Sheriff's Office, the male camel suddenly became aggressive and trapped both men inside the fenced area. Responding deputies described the animal as actively preventing rescue, forcing law enforcement to fatally shoot the camel to reach the victims. Both men died at the scene. From a behavioral standpoint, male camels, especially during musth-like hormonal states, exhibit extreme territorial aggression. Studies in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior show they can shift from neutral to attack mode with no gradual escalation, targeting perceived rivals with biting, trampling, and crushing. Adult camels can weigh over 1,000 kilograms, with bite forces capable of breaking bone. Once they pin a target, they often combine neck biting with full-body compression, the same sequence documented in fatal incidents. There were no prior public warnings about this camel, no illness reported, just a switch, flipped instantly. The man killed by the world's most dangerous bird. It wasn't a predator people expect. Marvin Hajos, 75, kept multiple cassowaries on his Florida property under a legal exotic animal permit. These birds, native to Australia and New Guinea, are often described as quiet, reclusive, but biologically, they are built for one thing: lethal defense. On April 12, 2019, Hajos was near one of the enclosures when he fell. Investigators believe that moment triggered the attack response. The cassowary struck immediately. Unlike most birds, cassowaries possess a 4-inch dagger-shaped inner claw on each foot. According to data from the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance and multiple zoological studies, a single forward kick can deliver enough force to slice through muscle, arteries, and even disembowel prey. Hajos sustained fatal injuries to his neck and legs before he could recover from the fall. This was the first cassowary-related death in the United States since 1926. What makes cassowaries uniquely dangerous is not aggression, it's reflexive response speed. Research on large retites shows reaction times faster than human defensive movement, meaning once triggered, escape is unlikely at close range. There were no signs of prolonged struggle, just a fall, followed by a strike. The 18-foot pet that closed in silence. Elliot Senseman, July 28, 2022, Upper Macungie Township, Pennsylvania. There was no scream. On July 28, 2022, emergency responders were called to a private residence in Lehigh County after reports of an unresponsive man. Inside, they found 38-year-old Elliot Senseman, entangled with his own pet snake, an 18-foot-long reticulated python. According to the Lehigh County Coroner's Office, the cause of death was asphyxia due to constriction. The snake had wrapped multiple coils around his torso and neck. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of struggle strong enough to break the hold, just pressure. sustained until breathing stopped. Reticulated pythons are the longest snakes on Earth, capable of exceeding 20 feet and weighing over 100 kilograms. Research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences confirms that constriction doesn't simply suffocate, it cuts off blood circulation, leading to rapid cardiac arrest within minutes. Each time the victim exhales, the coils tighten. Investigators noted the snake was not acting aggressively after the incident. It remained coiled, calm, still, regulated. Because from a biological standpoint, nothing abnormal had occurred. No anger, no mistake, just a completed sequence. The man who paid to wrestle a bear and lost. The warnings were already on record. Brent Kandra, 24, worked at an Ohio exotic animal facility owned by Sam Mazzola, a man cited for 17 USDA violations related to unsafe animal handling. Among the attractions, an 800-pound black bear named Brutus, used in staged wrestling encounters. On August 18, 2009, during a routine feeding interaction, not even a public show, Brutus attacked. The entire event lasted less than 90 seconds. Kandra suffered fatal neck trauma and was pronounced dead at the scene. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture inspection reports, the facility had multiple prior citations for allowing direct human-bear interaction without adequate barriers. These violations were active at the time of the incident. From a biological standpoint, American black bears can deliver bite forces exceeding 800 psi and possess forelimb strength capable of disabling large prey instantly. Once a bear commits to an attack, the focus is on rapid incapacitation of the neck and upper torso. There is no controlled version of that behavior. After the incident, Brutus was euthanized. Mazzola received a $2,500 fine, less than the cost of the liability. The sanctuary keeper who knew the rules and broke one. Rosa King, 33, was a trained and respected keeper at Port Limpney Wild Animal Reserve. She worked closely with big cats, including Kalani, a male white tiger she had handled before. There was a rule in place: never enter a big cat enclosure alone. On August 13, 2017, that rule was broken. King entered the enclosure by herself. Within minutes, Kalani attacked. The fatal injury was a single bite to the neck, the same killing technique tigers use in the wild to sever the spinal cord or crush the trachea. Despite rapid response from staff, she was pronounced dead at the scene. According to research from the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute, tigers can deliver a killing bite force exceeding 1,000 psi and can cover distances of several meters in under 1 second, faster than human reaction time. What matters is not aggression, it's opportunity. Big cats do not signal intent in a way humans can reliably interpret. Studies on captive predator behavior show attacks often occur without visible escalation, especially when standard safety protocols are bypassed. King understood the risk. The system existed to manage it, but one deviation removed the only barrier that mattered. Which case disturbed you most? Comment below, subscribe for more real stories, and watch the next video before it disappears.